ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ, ಸುಸ್ವಾಗತ. ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ನಾವು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಹೊಸ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದೊಂದಿಗೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಹಾಜರಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಇವತ್ತು ನಾವು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿರೋ ವಿಷಯ ಕನ್ಸರ್ನ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಅಡಾಪ್ಷನ್. ಇವಾಗ ನಾವ್ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲೂ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಮಾತ್ರ ಮಾತಾಡಿ ಅವ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅದ್ರ ವಿಷಯ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಇವತ್ತು ವಿಶೇಷತೆ ಏನಂದ್ರೆ, ಇವತ್ತು ಇಬ್ರು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಇದಾರೆ, ಇಬ್ರು ಅಡಾಪ್ಟಿವ್ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಅವರು ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಪರ್ಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಇಂದ ಅಡಾಪ್ಷನ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ ಜೊತೆ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರನ್ನ ಕ್ವಿಕ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾನು ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮೊದಲು ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜರ್ ಆದಂತ ಗಿರಿಧರ್ ಸರ್ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸರ್, ಗಿರಿಧರ್, ಓವರ್ ಟು ಯು.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ದತ್ತು ಮಾಸಾಚರಣೆಯ ಅಂಗವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಕ್ಕಳ ರಕ್ಷಣಾ ನಿರ್ದೇಶನಾಲಯ ಹಮ್ಮಿಕೊಂಡಂತಹ ಈ ಒಂದು ಫೇಸ್ಬುಕ್ ಲೈವ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಇದು 3ನೇ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಇಬ್ರು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ತಜ್ಞರು ಭಾಗವಹಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸ್ವತಃ ಇಬ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಅಡಾಪ್ಟಿವ್ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದು, ಕನ್ಸರ್ನ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಅಡಾಪ್ಷನ್, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಅಡಾಪ್ಟಿವ್ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಪರ್ಸೆಪ್ಷನ್, ಅವರ ಇಬ್ಬರು ಅಡಾಪ್ಟಿವ್ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ನ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಕೋನ, ಈ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುವಂತಹ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಗಾಯತ್ರಿ ಅಬ್ರಹಾಂ ಅವರು ಮಾತನಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದು ಟ್ರಾಮಾ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಬೇರೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಿಸಿದಂತಹ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಗಾಯತ್ರಿ ಅಬ್ರಹಾಂ ಅವರು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಹಾಗೇನೆ ಸದ್ಯ ಮುಂಬೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಲಹಾಗಾರರಾಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರುವಂತಹ ಇಂದಿರಾ ಉಲ್ಲಾಸ್ ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ಅಡಾಪ್ಟಿವ್ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್, ಮತ್ತೆ ಈ ಹಿಂದೆ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಈ ಅಡಾಪ್ಷನ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅವರು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಸಲಹಾ ಕೇಂದ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದವರು. ಈ ಇಬ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಕೋರ್ತಾ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನ ನಡೆಸ್ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಸುಜ್ಯೋತಿ ಅವರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಕೋರಿ, ಎಲ್ಲಾ ವೀಕ್ಷಕರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಸ್ವಾಗತ ಕೋರ್ತಾ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನ ನಡೆಸ್ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಸುಜ್ಯೋತಿ ಅವರು ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
ತುಂಬಾ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಸರ್. ಮತ್ತು ICPS ಕಡೆಯಿಂದನೂ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಮಗದೊಮ್ಮೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ ಬಯಸುತ್ತಾ, ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಒಂದು ವಿಶೇಷತೆಯನ್ನ ನಾವು ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ. ಗಾಯತ್ರಿ ಅಬ್ರಹಾಂ ಮತ್ತು ಇಂದಿರಾ ಉಲ್ಲಾಸ್ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ನಮ್ ಸರ್ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಇನ್ನೊಂದ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ನಾವು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ. ಅದ್ರ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ now the concern that we always face is, before we adopt, there is always an apprehension from the parent side. Can we treat and love these children just like how we love our own biological children? ನಮ್ಮ ಜೈವಿಕ ಮಕ್ಕಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಹೇಗೆ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವೋ ಅದೇ ರೀತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಅಡಾಪ್ಟೆಡ್ ಮಕ್ಕಳನ್ನ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಸಾಧ್ಯನಾ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಒಂದು ಯಕ್ಷ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. So this problem is a very prominent problem, and a problem that every mother more so will go through, because it is the mother's love that is very, very important for this, because it is the mother who has to take the first decision, and then the father will definitely support, because the acceptance has to come from the mother first, because it is always the women. I don't know, it's a perception that the women have a lot of issues and adjustments, because they spend a lot of time with the children, right, in the Indian setup. However, now that society has evolved, we are increasingly seeing that men are very, very involved in the family, and they also spend equal or if not more time with children, and in taking care of them and in their entire life. So ma'am Gayatri Abraham, so tell us, what made you take the decision to adopt? Is that the only child? So could you tell me a little about your adoption journey?
It was almost 20 years ago. So it started with always for me, adoption is something that I even when I was 16 or 17, the thoughts would ruminate around adoption, go and come back, is it something that I would want to opt for? And of course, then got married, and whatever, when it came into parenting and expanding our life, the option of adoption as well as the biological route was always there. I didn't think that either one was superior or inferior. I thought parenting and expanding a family either through adoption or biological route is one and the same. And I wanted to, as a family, including my spouse, wanted to experience that. However, in our case, it was the only route that was available to us was the adoption route. And we gladly welcomed it and moved into that, that as our first option. And we have 2 children through the adoption route. And it's been very, very joyful. And as in any parenting journey, there are ups and downs, there are joys and struggles, and that's what so it's not that one is more superior or one is inferior to the other, which is what I would like to share. In my understanding of my parenting journey, I don't think there has been any difference between either of the children, or it's the experience has been the same. I don't know what the experience of a biological route is. Nevertheless, from what I hear from all the other narratives through families and friends, it seems to be one and the same in whatever we are experiencing. Of course, there are a few nuances we need to keep in mind. I'm sure we can discuss that later, but I think in terms of experiencing parenting, I think it's been a very fruitful, enjoyable experience, and I don't see any difference.
Awesome. So how old are your children now?
20 and 13.
20 and 30?
13.
13. Oh, okay. So they're 7 years apart.
Yeah. 7 years apart.
Oh, fantastic. And what is the gender?
Both are girls.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. They're awesome.
So when did you break this news to them? Considering they're quite old, you would know, you would have broken that news sometime or the other for sure. So when did you break this news to them?
So I don't think it was any sudden breaking of their thing. It was part of our narrative right from day one. There were homecoming albums. We had organized homecoming celebrations. And so when they look at their homecoming albums, they have their story there. So it started right from 5-6 months. That's when they got exposed to, I think, right from day one. I mean, there was really, I didn't have a specific time period to break the news. It was, as I said, always there in our journey. So
how did your children take it?
I mean, they were curious about this route as they grew older and older. What did this, what were the reasons that come into the adoption pool? Those questions which I think any child would be curious of their birth parents, so again, it's in a way that what we've also did, the narrative also changed depending on their cognitive ability of understanding what adoption was. So what I share with my 20-year-old would probably be different from what my 13-year-old would be processing, right? They're at a different cognitive
level altogether, absolutely.
Yeah. At the same time, it's been interesting because I think today's children are far, far advanced in understanding all these concepts more than even us as adults. Right. The exposure to peer group, school environment, all of them play a very huge role in this. And I think, she's got the understanding as much as what probably my 20-year-old has, my younger child. So, of course, when they come into the reproductive understanding in the 8th and 9th, and when they're looking at the textbooks, and that's when they try to put things in perspective for themselves. And you got to be there for them and, answer their questions without fear, without any judgment, and walk that path along with them, and I think that's been a wonderful journey. I mean, I've not seen anything which is really alarmed me, and set me off on any other thinking that I should have reversed my option only through the biological route. So I'm quite happy with, and we are quite, and my spouse is not here, so obviously I have to speak for him as well. I think we're very, very happy, and the way that the children have processed, the way that we have a very open discussion on these things. It's very, very open. It's free flowing. We don't talk about it all day and all night. We don't brush it under the carpet. As and when questions come, we have the answers. And I think they look at it as one part of the identity, adoption, but it's not the whole of it for them.
Awesome. I have more questions to you, but let's quickly have a word with Indra Ulas as well.
Yes.
Ma'am, namaskara. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ನಿಮ್ ಜರ್ನಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ನೀವ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಅಡಾಪ್ಷನ್ ರೂಟ್ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಶುರು ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಿಮ್ ಮಕ್ಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಮಗು ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಬರೋಣ. ಹೇಳಿ ಮೇಡಮ್, ನಿಮ್ದು ಏನು ಜರ್ನಿ ಇದೆ?
ಓಕೆ, ಗಾಯತ್ರಿ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು. ನಾನು ಬಹಳ ಮುಂಚೆ ನಾ ಕಾಲೇಜಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಾಗ್ಲೇ ನನ್ಗೆ ಒಂದ್ ಐಡಿಯಾ ಇತ್ತು, ಮುಂದೆ ಒಂದ್ ಮಗುನ ಅಡಾಪ್ಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತಗೋಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಐಡಿಯಾ ಹ್ಯಾಡ್ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ದೇರ್ was always there in my mind. Then it so happened that my first job was with an adoption agency in Bangalore, Matruchaya, monotype ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ನಾನು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ವರ್ಕರ್ ಆಗಿ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಸೊ ದೆನ್ ಇನ್ನ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಬಂತು ಅಡಾಪ್ಷನ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ. ಅವಾಗಂತೂ ಇನ್ನ ಫರ್ಮ್ ಆಯ್ತು, ನಾನ್ ಮುಂದೆ ಒಂದ್ ಮಗುನ್ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಅಡಾಪ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತೀನಿ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಮದ್ವೆ ಮುಂಚೆನು ಮೈ ಟು ಬಿ ಹಸ್ಬೆಂಡ್ ಹತ್ರ ಐ ವಾಂಟೆಡ್ ಟು ಬಿ ವೆರಿ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ದಟ್ only if he is okay with it, we'll go ahead anta. So even before marriage, we had this discussion that we'll adopt a child once. Avag ankondidvi one biological magu admele ಎರಡನೇ adopt ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ ಅಂತ, but did have a biological child. We went directly for adoption. So ನಾನು adoption desk ಎರಡ್ ಕಡೆನೂ ಕೂತಿದ್ದೀನಿ as a social worker who assesses couple and home study ಮಾಡೋ side ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂತಿದ್ದೀನಿ. On the other side as a prospective adoptive parent and an adoptive parent ತರಾನು ನಂದು ಜೀವನ ಬಂದಿದೆ. So we adopted in 2009. We have a daughter, she's 12 now, almost 13. So it's been a nice experience and a lovely journey, I would say.
ನೀವ್ ಹೇಗ್ ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ ನ್ಯೂಸ್ ನ? ಎಷ್ಟು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕೈಗೆ ಮಗು ಬಂದಾಗ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ವರ್ಷ ಆಗಿತ್ತು?
Magu, actually she was just 2.5 months when she came to us.
Wow. Okay.
So I think first of all we were very clear that ಯಾವತ್ತನ ಒಂದ್ ದಿವಸ ಹೇಳಲೇಬೇಕು ಮಗುಗೆ ಅಂತ. And also ನಮ್ಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲಿಂಗ್ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿತ್ತು that we have to tell as early as possible. So now I think we started telling her in when she was around 2 years old, 2.5 years old ಆಗಿದ್ಲು. ಅವಾಗ ಒಂಥರ ಬೆಡ್ ಟೈಮ್ ಸ್ಟೋರೀಸ್ ತರ ನಾವು ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ ಅವಳಿಗೆ ಹೇಳಕ್ಕೆ. Like and we kept it very simple as it happened. So ನಾವ್ ನಮ್ ಕಥೆನೆ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಒಂದ್ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ, ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಸ್ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ತರ ಹೇಳಕ್ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. ನಮ್ಗೊಂದ್ ಮಗು ಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು, ನಾವ್ ಎಷ್ಟ್ ಕಾಯ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ ನಮ್ಗೂ ಒಂದು ಮಗು ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಈ ತರ ಯಾರೋ ಒಬ್ರ ಆಂಟಿ ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ನೀನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿದ್ಯಾ ಅಂತ. ನಾವೆಲ್ಲಾರು ಹೋಗಿದ್ವಿ, ಅಪ್ಪ ಅಮ್ಮ ಬಂದಿದ್ರು, ಅಜ್ಜಿ ತಾತನು ಬಂದಿದ್ರು, ನಿನ್ನ ನೋಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಅವತ್ತಿನ ದಿವಸದಿಂದ we fell in love with you and we brought you home anta. So this was the story that absolutely the truth and as it happened. And she grew up hearing this story, and the story, I think the main intention of the story was that we love her and she's a part of our family, and this is the way she became our family. So I think adu aa story kelta ಬೆಳೆದ್ಲು ಅವಳು. And we never hid anything. Gayatri ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ದಂಗೆ albums ತೋರಿಸ್ವಿ, photos ತೋರಿಸ್ವಿ. So we've always been very open and forthright in telling about adoption. ಶುರುನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವ್ adoption ಅಂತ ವರ್ಡ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೆಸಿಟೇಷನ್ ಇತ್ತು. But I think ಅದ್ ನಮಗ್ ಧೈರ್ಯ ಬಂದಾಗ when we felt more confident, we also started using the word adoption. ನಿನ್ನನ್ನು ಅಡಾಪ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಬಂದ್ವಿ. So now she's completely aware of the fact. So I think it was a progressive journey. ಅವಳಿಗೂನು ನಮ್ಗೂನು on the way ನಾವೂನು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇನ್ನ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಕಾನ್ಫಿಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಬಂತು, ಅವಳಿಗೂನು ಇನ್ನ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಕಾನ್ಫಿಡೆನ್ಸ್ ತುಂಬಿದ್ವಿ.
ಸೊ ಆಮೇಲೆ ಯಾವತ್ತೂ ನಿಮ್ ಜರ್ನಿ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನನ್ಗೆ ಕಣ್ಣಲ್ಲಿ ನೀರ್ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಎಷ್ಟು ಬ್ಯೂಟಿಫುಲ್ ಜರ್ನಿ ನಿಮ್ದು. ಅದನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ತಾನೆ ಒಂಥರ ಆನಂದ ಆಗತ್ತೆ. ನೀವು ಇವಾಗ ಒಂದು ನಾನು ಕೆಲವು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಅದು ಸೆನ್ಸಿಟಿವ್ ಅಂದು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಅದು ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಇಷ್ಟ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯು ಮೇ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಸೇ ದಟ್ ಐ ಡು ನಾಟ್ ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ಆನ್ಸರ್ ದಿಸ್ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಪರ್ಫೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಆಲ್ ರೈಟ್. ಐ ಆಮ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಆಸ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಅನ್ ಅಬ್ಸಲ್ಯೂಟ್ಲಿ layman perspective, where parents will definitely have these kind of doubts before they go in for adoption. And since we are doing this for awareness, I'm going to be asking you sensitive questions as well. So ಮ್ಯಾಮ್, ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಯಾವತ್ತು ನಿಮ್ ಮಗಳಿಗೆ ಯಾವತ್ತು ಒಂದು ದಿನಾನು ನನ್ ಬಯೋಲಾಜಿಕಲ್ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ನಾನು ಹುಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಸಿಲ್ವಾ?
ಇದುವರೆಗೂ ಅವಳೇನ್ ಕೇಳಿ ಯೂಶಲಿ ಯಾವಾಗನ ಲೈಕ್ ಗಾಯತ್ರಿ ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ದಂಗ್ ಯಾವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. ಏನಾರ ವಿಷಯ ಬಂದಾಗ, ಏನೋ ಟಿವಿ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾಗ, ಏನಾರ ಮೂವಿ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ಆತರ ಏನಾರ ಡಿಸ್ಕಷನ್ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್. ಬಟ್ ಇದುವರೆಗೂ ಅವಳ ಹುಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ತರ ಏನು ಹೇಳಿಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಗೆ. ಮುಂದೆ ಏನಾರ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ವಿ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್. ಬಟ್ ಇದುವರೆಗೂ ಆತರ ಏನು ಇಲ್ಲ. ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಅಡಾಪ್ಟೆಡ್ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಆತರ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಐ ಆಮ್ ನಾಟ್ ಟೂ ಶೂರ್. ಇಟ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಅ ಲಾಟ್ ಆನ್ ಪೇರೆಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಇಟ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಡಿಪೆಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಚೈಲ್ಡ್ ಇಂಡಿವಿಜುವಲ್. ಸೊ ಎಲ್ಲಾರ್ಗು ಈ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಹುಟ್ಟತ್ತೆ, or how much importance they give it to that particular aspect of adoption depends from child to child, depends from parent to parent, and it depends on the parenting. This is my thought.
Okay, excellent. ಮೇಡಮ್, ಇವಾಗ ಬಯೋಲಾಜಿಕಲ್ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ನ ಹುಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ ಹೋಗಲ್ಲ ಸರಿ, ಬಟ್ ಕೇಳಿದಾರ ನನ್ನ ಬಯೋಲಾಜಿಕಲ್ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಐ ಮೀನ್ ಯಾರು ಅಂತನಾದ್ರೂ ಕೇಳಿದಾರ? ಆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಬಂದೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. 12 ವರ್ಷ ಮಗುಗಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನನ್ನ ಬಯೋಲಾಜಿಕಲ್ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಯಾರು, ನಾನ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಹಿಂಗಿದೀನಿ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಬಂದಿರತ್ತೆ.
ತುಂಬಾ ಚಿಕ್ಕವಳಾಗಿದ್ದ ಕೇಳಿದ್ಲು, ನಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಲೇಟ್. ಅವಳು ಒಂದ್ 5-6 ವರ್ಷ ಇದ್ದಾಗ 1-2 ಸತಿ ಕೇಳಿದ್ಲು. ಅಂಡ್ ದೆನ್ ಅಪ್ರೋಪ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಅಂಡ್ ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಶಿ ವಾಸ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಮೇ ಬಿ 4 years 5 years ಆಗಿದ್ದಾಗ ನಮ್ ನೇಬರ್ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದ್ ಮಗು ಹುಟ್ಟಿತ್ತು. ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನ ನೋಡಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡ್ ಹೋಗಿದ್ವಿ. ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ ಬಂದ್ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಕೇಳಿದ್ಲು ಆ ಮಗುಗೂ 2 ತಾಯಿರಿದಾರ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ 2 mothers 2 family ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾವ್ ಯಾವತ್ತೂ ಏನು ಅವಳ ಹತ್ರ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಬಟ್ ಸಮ್ವೇರ್ ಇನ್ ಹರ್ ಮೈಂಡ್ ಶಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ internalized it. ಅಂಡ್ ಅವಾಗ ಕೇಳಿದ್ಲು. ಅಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಬ್ಲೂ, ನೋಡಿ ಈ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಬ್ಲೂ ಅನ್ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ಡ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾಗ ಸಡನ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬರುತ್ತೆ.
ಅವಾಗ ನೀವ್ ಹೇಗೆ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಅದನ್ನ?
ಅವಾಗ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ ಬಂತು ದಟ್ ನೀನಿನ್ನ ತುಂಬಾ ಚಿಕ್ಕೋಳು, ಬಟ್ ವೆನ್ ಯು ಗ್ರೋ ಅಪ್ ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಟಾಕ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಇಟ್ ಅಂತ. ಶಿ ವಾಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ 5 years ಅವಾಗ, ನಾಟ್ ಇವನ್ 5 years ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಅವಾಗ. ಸೊ ಬಟ್ ಇನ್ ಫ್ಯೂಚರ್ ಇಫ್ ಇಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಕಮ್ ವಿ ವಿಲ್ ಡೆಫಿನೆಟ್ಲಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಅ ಸೀರಿಯಸ್ ಟಾಕ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಇಟ್. ಬಟ್ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಶಿ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ನೋಸ್, ಬಟ್ ಕಾನ್ವರ್ಸೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಇದುವರೆಗೂ ಇನ್ನ ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅಂಡ್ ಶಿ ನೋಸ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ದೇರ್. ಅಷ್ಟು ಓಪನ್ ರಿಲೇಶನ್ಶಿಪ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದೀವಿ ದಟ್ ವೆನೆವರ್ ಶಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಎನಿ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಶಿ ವಾಂಟ್ಸ್ ಟು talk about it, we are there. ಅಷ್ಟು ಕಾನ್ಫಿಡೆನ್ಸ್ ನನ್ಗೆ ಅವಳ ಮೇಲಿದೆ. and I think she also has on it.
Oh, awesome. Okay, ma'am, Gayatri Abraham, I have one question for you. So now, do your children mutually discuss adoption between them? Have you ever heard or do you know of such an incident?
It's always been the 4 of us together in these conversations. It happens once a year, maybe once in 2 years sometimes. They know the entire, because I work in the adoption space. My organization is, so they come, I mean, when we did have panel discussions offline, they would come and help us with the panel discussion, taking the registration of all the parents coming in for the group discussion, so they're very aware of where they are from and how they've come into the adoption pool and how they finally they reached our house, right? They know that journey. So we don't have, and maybe it's the openness, probably, maybe it is this stage in this moment, I can tell you that they are happy with their journey. They look, they understand the birth parents' role in it. What could have prompted them to make that decision, and that they were taken care up to a point in the childcare institution, and then they they came to our home. So that connect of being taken care is what the thread in the narrative that is there in the journey. Probably not in the best way that they would have wanted to be or could have been taken care right from day one. The institutions do what they can do in terms of the caregiving. The important point is there was someone in the agencies to feed them, clothe them, bathe them. And then they came to our home where again it's more nurturing and it's more one-on-one, and it's about family, right? So our thread, we kept it, the thread of being taken care, I think, is important for children to hear more than anything else, in whatever capacity that anyone has done that for them. I think that's important. And I've really not heard them talk between themselves. Whatever they have, they come and talk to us. It's always a dining, ritual conversation sometimes, or when we're just having, going out for an ice cream, or it just comes and pops up some questions. So they understand the whole adoption space quite well.
Okay, the same question to you. So do you have your children ever asked to look for their biological parents or go in search of them? Have they ever made that effort?
The search, was it to me or to Indra ma'am?
To you.
Okay. Not really. As in, my older one sometimes would be curious and want to know a little more about it. My younger one processes it very differently. For her, it's like, okay, they were my family at one point, now you're our family, and that's it. It's live in the moment for her, okay? And take what comes along with it. My older one is curious. Out of curiosity, she would ask, where are they? What would have happened to them? What would have made them do the decision, what they did? And we have to be honest and transparent with whatever information that was given to me is what I share with my children. And always open if they want to, at some point, do the root search or do whatever else that they want. We're here to support, but also she understands, and both of them understand, the socio-economic, cultural systems that work in the country. They're quite aware of that. They're very mindful of that. Okay. So that's where we are at this point in our time, in our journey. I don't know if we were to have the same discussion 10 years down the line, whether I'm going to have the same response for you, or whether I'm going to have something different, I don't know. But today, this is the journey that we're in, and there is curiosity, yes. There is respect for their birth parents. That's very important. We instill that right from day one, that they don't look at their birth parents in any condescending manner. Okay, or in any derogatory manner.
That's a very, very valid point. You ensure that they never have a negative impression about their birth parents.
And that also
just because they're taken care.
As Indraji says, a lot of it is about parenting, how we perceive adoption, how we perceive birth parents. What are the beliefs, irrational beliefs that we may carry along with us, which is not helpful in the adoption space at all. That's some things that we have to work with. And then the journey becomes very open and very transparent and very welcoming.
Right. Okay. So you already have
Not to
two
take away
teenage.
their grief, not to take away their grief at any point in time, and that the loss that they may have had in this journey through adoption. We have to validate that too, as and when it comes up.
Mm. So have you had bouts of sessions where they've cried over it, or they've said, this, I mean, I can't believe this happened to me. This is if I were to be an adopted child, I don't know, I would have probably had this. So I'm asking you out of curiosity, do children go through this? Do they ever have bouts of grief expressed to their parents saying, why did they do this to me? I wish this hadn't happened to me. I wish I lived with my biological parents. Have you ever encountered this? Both of you. The question is open to both of you.
So I will answer, and I'm going to pass it on to Indraji as well. I've not encountered that. The older one did go through some sort of grief when she was probably 9 years old, but never a question of why did they do this to me, or why have I come to this family? That was never the grief for her. The grief was, I hope wherever she is or wherever they are okay, they are fine. And that was a
Fantastic.
9-year-old grieving for that. Not to say that she was grieving about, why did this happen, but more of that was that age, and that's how she processed it at night. Okay, without judgments, I think we have to take in what the child is going through and take it at face value and be with the child when the child is grieving that loss, which is what we did. I think for about a month, she was very concerned about her birth parents. Are they alive? Are they okay? Is someone taking care of them? Those were the thoughts that were going through her when she was 9 years old.
Wow. Okay. This seems to be a completely different parenting journey from regular parenting, I feel, because patience is at the epitome of everything. All right. Indra ma'am, ನಿಮ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೀರಿಯನ್ಸ್ ಹೇಗಿತ್ತು? ಈ ತರ ನಿಮ್ ಈ ತರ ಯಾವತ್ತಾದ್ರೂ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಆಗಿದ್ಯಾ? ಮಗು ಒತ್ತಿರೋದು, ನನಗ್ ಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಐ ವಾಂಟ್ ಮೈ ಬಯಾಲಜಿಕಲ್ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿರೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಒಂದು ಈ ತರ ರೀತಿನಲ್ಲಿ?
ಇಲ್ಲ, ಇದುವರೆಗೂ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ. I think the reason behind that is that ನಾವು ಶುರುವಿಂದಾನು sharing of the fact of adoption ಮಾಡಿದೀವಿ. Such circumstances, ನೀವು ಹೇಳೋ circumstances, I think is more likely when the child is comes to know about his or her adoption at a later age. 5 ವರ್ಷ 6 ವರ್ಷ even 10-11 years ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಮಗು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ದಾಗ that he or she is adopted. ಈ ತರ ನೀವ್ ಹೇಳೋ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ಸ್, ನಮ್ಮ ಅಪ್ಪ ಅಮ್ಮ ಯಾಕೆ ನನ್ನನ್ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೋದ್ರು ಅಥವಾ ಗ್ರೀವಿಂಗ್, ಆ ತರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗೋದು ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಇನ್ ದಟ್ ಸಿನಾರಿಯೋ. ನೀವ್ ಶುರುವಿಂದಾನೇ ಮಗುಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ ಬಂದ್ರೆ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಕಾನ್ಫಿಡೆಂಟ್ about themselves, they're confident about the relationship with adoption and adoptive parents. So ee tara our mansal iratte, but I don't think to such a large degree. Grief of course will be there. Our loss can only sympathize, I cannot empathize. Nannana ಅವಳ ಸ್ಥಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಟು ನಂಗೆ ನೋಡಕ್ಕೆ ನನಗೆ ಆ ತರ ability ಇಲ್ಲ. Her grief, her loss is hers. ಅದು ಯಾವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಅವಳ ಮೈಂಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರತ್ತೆ. But I think sharing the fact of adoption in a right manner and at a right age ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಇದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, cushioning ಇರುತ್ತೆ is what I feel. So I think we've done that, and that is why at least ಇದುವರೆಗೂ ಆ ತರ ಏನು ಅವಳು ನಮ್ ಹತ್ರ ಬಂದು ಕೇಳಿ ಅಥವಾ ಆ ತರ ದುಃಖ ಪಟ್ಟಿದ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. So I think I believe that because of the sharing of the fact of adoption was done at the right age and in a right manner.
Okay, excellent. So one more important thing. So now, usually in the journey of parenting, what happens, especially when children come to teenage, that is the most crucial part for any parent, whether adoptive parent or biological parent, whoever it is. That age between, I would say not even teenage these days, it starts much earlier. It starts from 10 onwards. Arguments, fights, and all these discussions, it starts from 10 years onwards now. Children don't even have to wait till they become teens these days, because children are really, really fast. So in this entire spectrum of dealing with their teenage and dealing with their arguments and all of those things, has it ever been a situation where there has been a fight and they fret back at you saying, because I'm an adopted child, you're behaving like this with me? Has this ever happened?
Not at all.
Wow,
Not
fantastic.
once. Not once.
Fabulous. People should take parenting lessons from you, ma'am, honestly. Because
Not
this
yet.
is an achievement.
As I said, I'm in the moment. In today's situation, they've never brought that up. That has never been, when we are drawing boundaries as a family of what is okay and what is not okay in terms of disciplining, right? When certain things were said that this is not something that is okay at this age for you, then yes, as any child, they would want to push boundaries, they'll want to test
They would want to rebel, argue.
They will do all of that, but never once that they have turned around and told us as parents that it's because of this. Not once.
Fabulous. Okay. You have really awesome children. Oh, great. All right, ma'am. Indra Ulas, nimage ತರ experience ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಆಗಿದ್ಯಾ? I know she's still 12, but yeah, go ahead. Please go ahead.
ಹೇಳ್ದಂಗೆ child nowadays teenage sets in much earlier. They don't need to enter the teenage as such.
Right.
But ಇದುವರೆಗೂ ಆ ತರ ಆಗಿಲ್ಲ. But what I say is that maklu, like in their teens, they're undergoing so many hormonal changes, peer pressure, adu idu odin pressure ella. So I wouldn't be surprised that if some adoptive child uses this against the parents. So the only way to deal with it, if it ever happens to anyone, nangu munde agbodu athwa yadana bere parents ke, is that once we are a family, it is family. It doesn't matter whether you became a family through adoption or you are a biological child. The rules of the house is for everyone. Nav ಏನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವೋ ಏನ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಮನೇಲಿ ಮಕ್ಳು ಇರೋ ತನಕ follow, my husband follows, and you as my child should follow. So it doesn't matter whether you're biological child or adoptive child. So that
agree.
needs to be the way that you have to deal in case it happens.
Sure, I completely
There's
agree.
no special, there's no special treatment just because you're adopted, or there is no special treatment that you are not adopted. So for biology, so it is parenting. ಇವಾಗ biological ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಈ ತರ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಅವಳು ದೊಡ್ಡೋಳು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನೀನ್ ಅವಳಿಗೆ ಆ ತರ
ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ.
In siblings also ಈ ತರ ಫೈಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ.
Absolutely. Especially ಹುಡುಗ ಹುಡುಗಿನಲ್ಲಿ, especially when there are boys and girls in the house, this is always said.
Yes,
how can he go and how can I not go? If it's the younger one is a girl child,
Definitely.
and the elder one is going out, how can he go and how
Definitely.
can I not go? Why can he go late night
Yes.
and why can't I go late nights? These are things that as parents, it's a dumb thing.
It's also important, I think, like what Indraji says, right, to just take it to the next thing, that edo child-centric problems to adoption problems related concerns. You have to be able to discern that very carefully. Every child-related behavioral concern is not an adoption-related concern. Every teenage behavioral concern, adolescence identity formation is not something to do with adoption either. Okay? We will have to definitely be mindful in that 13 to 18 years when that formation of identity is happening anyway, away from the parents and their children. The adolescents are trying to have their own identity, separating themselves from the family and from the parents, right? This push and pull will be there. Being very mindful and not slotting them in these categories is very important. In that it is because of adoption, it is due to adoption, you know, is you have to be very mindful. And if you do see, if you're confused about it, take support, take help, and identify what could be causing that, concern.
Mm-hmm.
And there are ways to mitigate it.
Right. Okay. So another very important thing that usually, this is an everyday common household thing, right? This happens between the spouses, the husband and wife. So whenever a child does something wrong, it's always, they say, it is your child. This is why they're doing this. And whenever the child does something fantastic, you say, oh, our child. So when this situation comes with an adoptive parent, how do you handle these kind of issues? Because sometimes these arguments do happen in front of children. We, as much as possible, parents these days, educated parents, try their best not to argue or fight in front of their children. It's always inside closed doors, or because arguments and discussions are always a part of the family, are always a part of every relationship. If everything is extremely smooth, there is something wrong. So there has to be differences of opinion. There will be differences of opinions, and there will be discussions. So has this ever happened to you that these kind of situations occur between you and you and your spouse, or these kind of discussions happen? How do you handle it? If it's personal, you don't have to answer this, but I'm just asking.
No, which relationship, whether it is a mother and a child, or a husband or a wife, or a friend or a sibling, with your co-workers, you're going to have differences.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we have a system in place that to say it's okay to have differences, but respect those differences. We all don't have to we all can respectfully agree to
Disagree. Absolutely.
and go beyond, and if you're not agreeing with someone, it doesn't mean that you love someone less for it.
Right.
Okay, that is how we are trying to set conflicts and disagreements in our house, right? And sometimes especially in the pandemic time, right, when it's been all closed doors, and when you look at what the situation has been, where couples are working, children are at home doing the online, there are bound to be where you're going to cross these things, and you are human as well. But the point is, if you've treaded those waters, I think the most important, I incorporate it in this thing is, if I think that I've made a mistake, to say sorry to your children, however young they are. If you're at wrong, and if something that is upset them, I think it's okay to say sorry and move on, because then they also learn that it's okay to make mistakes, and the thing is to learn from your mistakes and apologize and move ahead.
Absolutely.
So I think that is a system that we are trying to put in place, where even if we are having conflicts, if sometimes there is an intrusion and there is the conflict that the children have come in, and it's not something that you do it intentionally, right? And then how about then saying, okay, this is not something that it's not for both of you, but it's for us, and we're sorry that you were part of it.
You have to witness this.
Because you also have to respect these spaces that people are in today, in working from home. And for me, I think that's been a great tool, because I think parenting is an everyday journey. You're learning everything on a day-to-day basis. And I'm also in the counseling space, right? I also work in that space. And the one thing that, to be mindful of the profession also not coming and invading into the home system, right? And having to be who you are at home, and, just be that authentic self. Otherwise, it would become a problem.
Ma'am, Indra ma'am, what has your journey been? Has this happened with you? Hello?
Yes, arguments are a part of any family, husband. any relationship for that matter. So it does happen with us also, nothing new about it. But I think what we do is we should not let the arguments go on forever. We should go to the next step of finding solutions. So Num family and how we deal with it is that we don't let anything drag on a lot. So to find solutions,
Raat gayi, baat
for
gayi.
the children to be a part of finding solutions to your arguments. Yes, we respect each other's opinion, each other's differences. So, but moving ahead, we need to go to the next step of finding solutions, a workable solution. And this will keep happening. So I'm sure even in future, for everyone, arguments will happen, and we need to move on. So I don't think adoption plays any role in
Yes.
this. This is a part and parcel of every family. So I don't think that gives any different angle to the arguments or
No, actually, my question
situation.
was related to the related to this particular topic that we're discussing, because what I'm saying is, so a lot of times as parents, so I also have 2 children, so a lot of times as parents, whenever children do anything wrong, it's always that your child has done this. So whenever they do something right, they're always proud. It's always the case. It's not different to any parent, I think, because it's human. We are not talking as parents here. We're talking as normal humans. Whenever there is anything negative, we don't want to own it. Whenever there is something positive, we want to embrace that. So this is a normal human tendency, and that is a topic that I'm discussing here. So has this ever happened to you?
Not really. Not really. I think both of us take credit for whatever that comes along, the joys and the struggles, as I said, right? I think that partnership has to be there, that it is
so
not.
I think consciously we have tried not.
It is difficult, as you said, it is difficult because you clearly mentioned that we're all human. But
Humans.
as Indraji says, you have to be very conscious of it. And even if you slip up, how are you going to, say that sorry and move ahead and say, okay, this is not something that we should be looking at it in this light, right? I think that is what parenting journey is, I think, for me at least. Just where you're actually learning a lot from your children on a day-to-day basis, and you're making the course correction along the way. And each child is different.
Right.
What works for one does not necessarily work for the other.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Okay, so from a parent perspective, what would you think should be the preparation from a counselor's perspective? Because both of you, Gayatri, Abraham, you run an agency, and you have your center where you talk to adoptive parents, prospective adoptive parents. And Indra Ulasnam, you're also a social worker in the adoption space. So what kind of mental preparation should there be before parents decide to adopt? I know that however mentally prepared you are for any situation, only when the situation arrives is when you learn to face it. Because that kind of mental preparation, it is not possible, because again, like I said, we're all humans. So despite all of this, what is the preparation? How do you prepare parents for this?
So Indraji can go ahead, and then I can come with my perspective on this. I'd like to hear her perspective as well.
Okay.
There's a signal issue, I suppose.
Yeah, there's a signal issue.
I think yeah. Am I audible?
Ma'am, you're not audible.
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah, now.
Yeah, it's better now. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Ma'am, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
You, Indraji.
Yes. Yes, I think the connection went off. So the way I would see it is that first and foremost, if it is a couple who is going in for adoption, they have to be on the same page. They have to equally believe in adoption. It is not that it is someone who's made up his mind and the other one is just tagging along. They have to be on the same page and be ready for adoption. I think that is the first step that they need to take. And of course, there's a lot of counseling that goes clearing all their doubts. I think first and foremost, the major doubt or the major concerns of adoptive parents is the health of the child. So, how do we ensure that the child is healthy? What guarantees are there that the child will not have any health problems? So that is one concern that we need to deal with. Of course, Ivaga adoption, the way it is laid out by Kara, you hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah. So that is one thing that we see how their concerns or how their doubts can be cleared. That be sure that the NER is filled properly. Be sure that you go through the reports, show it to a pediatrician of your choice, and only then take the next step. If you have any doubts, get it clarified before you reserve the child. So that is one of the concerns. And the other concern I think we spoke earlier is that you asked ki magu namdu anta ನಾವು accept ಮಾಡಕ್ಕಾಗತ್ತಾ, ನಮ್ಗೆ ಮಗು ನೋಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ನಮ್ಗೆ acceptance ಬರತ್ತಾ, ಮಗುಗೆ acceptance ಬರತ್ತಾ. ಸೊ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸುಮಾರು ಕೌನ್ಸಿಲಿಂಗ್ ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ಗೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ since I'm in the adoption field and I'm also an adoptive mother, it is not necessary that the individual reactions are very different from parent to parent when they see the child for the first time. Adoption ಗೆ ರೆಫರ್ ಆಗಿರೋ ಮಗು ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಿ ತಗೊಂಡಾಗ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ರಿಯಾಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Some parents feel an instant connect with the child. Overwhelming feeling ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಒಬ್ಬೊಬ್ಬರಿಗೆ ಆ ಫೀಲಿಂಗ್ ಬರಲ್ಲ. I'm not saying one is right and the other is wrong. It could happen. Instant connect ಬರ್ಬೋದು, instant connect ಬರ್ದೇನೂ ಇರಬಹುದು. But for sure ನೀವು ಆ ಮಗುನ ಮನೆಗೆ once you decide that you're going to adopt this child, our bonding and our acceptance, two-way acceptance will definitely come. Not in that one instance, but over time it will definitely happen. So ad one major concern irutte, namu magu nodida takshana ad namdu anta ansutta, because it's not our biological child. So ad one concern irutte. Amel innond concern what they need to think about is the acceptance, our acceptance as a parent, that is one thing. Then the acceptance by the extended family and the society. So how much importance they should give or not give to what other people's perspective or other people's take on adoption might be. So that is one thing that is counseling ಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ. Then of course sharing fact of adoption, ಎಷ್ಟು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಇದು. ಸುಮಾರು ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ when they think of adoption ಅಷ್ಟು ಮುಂದೆ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿರಲ್ಲ. ಮಗುಗ್ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಾ, ಹೇಳೋ ನೆಸೆಸಿಟಿ ಇದೆಯಾ, ಹೇಳ್ದೇನೂ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಸೊ ವಾಟ್, ಅಥವಾ ರೆಡಿ ಇದ್ರೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು, ಯಾವ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು, ಯಾವ ರೀತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು, ಯಾವ ಏಜ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು. ಸೊ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಅಗೇನ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಹೌ ವಿ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸ್ಡ್, ಇಫ್ ದ ಚಿಲ್ಡ್ರನ್ ಆಸ್ಕ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದೇರ್ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್, ರೂಟ್ ಸರ್ಚ್ ಅಥವಾ ಬಯಾಲಜಿಕಲ್ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕ್ವೆಶನ್ ಕೇಳಿದಾಗ ಅವ್ರ ಮನಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಿದ್ದಾಗ, ಹೌ ಟು ಡೀಲ್ ವಿತ್ ದಟ್. So at different points of time in adoption, pre-adoption, at the time of referral, soon after adoption, and later, there are various things that the prospective adoptive parents need to be aware of and should seek counseling. So these are the aspects that we touch upon.
Ma'am Gayatri, ma'am, your perspective, please.
Yeah, I think I agree. And that's almost on the same lines that the work that we do while preparing parents, what Indraji had said. Adding to that, all the areas that she's covered is what we also cover. But what we also cover is what are the reasons to adopt? I think that is important. How you perceive adoption is important. Are you coming from the space of nobility, charity, social statement? Is it something that you feel, it feels good for you to do this, or is it just a parenting journey? Or is it just one option to expand your family? Yeah. The underlying intention has to be very clear, or any medical reasons or conditions that brought you into adoption. Then if there is infertility and the couple has experienced that for many years, then to process that grief is important before you come into the adoption space. Especially if you've tried for many years through the infertility treatments, and then because that can have a bearing on an impact on the expectations that you may have with a child through the adoption route. So the processing of that grief and loss has to happen. Or you've lost a child, then go through the process whatever has happened in that loss before you come into the adoption. So we look at it from more psychological, emotional, mental well-being perspective. And how do you then, if there is a lack in certain areas, how do you then develop those skills and strategies to help yourself in the parenting journey, assessing where you are in your life, financially, emotionally, support systems. These are the areas that we cover before, they look at adoption and make an informed decision, right? I mean, that's important. So what we do is we don't necessarily prepare our parents saying this is the way to do it or that is the way to do it. We bring certain things to their awareness for them to think about, have clarity, so that they realize they made a choice and it is not someone that is forced them to do this. It is the choice that you're making.
Okay.
And with that choice comes certain responsibilities.
So you made an interesting point of saying responsibility. It's a big word, not just in terms of spelling. It's also a big word in terms of shouldering it on a parents, on adoptive parents. So what is the kind of preparation that you did as an adoptive parent familially? So like, how did you prepare your family for it? Both of you, since both of you were inclined towards adoption from a very young age, how did your parents and your extended family accept this decision of yours?
So now when you're talking about responsibilities for parenting and taking the ownership, as I said, it is not only in the adoption space. When you decide or embark on a parenting journey itself, I would share this, and I did this for myself. What are the reasons that you want to become a parent in the first place? Adoption, biological, surrogacy are all options for you to explore with. Starting with what is parenting to you and what is the, what is it that is, just introspecting those questions are important. Then you choose the option that you want, whether it's biological or adoption or surrogacy or whatever. I'm not saying that, as I said, I don't see any of these routes superior or inferior. The minute we say that adoption is more superior and more special, then that's going to be a problem. The minute you're going to say biological is the only way, then that would become a problem. These are only routes for you to expand your family. I think that introspection happened with us, with a counselor, of course. We did go for counseling that was 19 years ago. Right. So we did our homework. and the reasons what we were doing and why we were going into it, and then preparing the families accordingly. And then there are, of course, fears, unknowns, that would come up with family members or extended family members. And the ones you think that you want to, sit down with and then talk about these concerns, you do it. The others, I think, really don't matter in that space. Our immediate families matter, our friends matter. Okay, bringing them into, an understanding and having a clarity on this was important to us. But
Right,
beyond
right.
that is not in our control, right? Then it's their journey, and then that's their processing of the space.
ಮೇಡಮ್ ಇಂದ್ರ ಉಲ್ಲಾಸ್ರೆ, ನಿಮ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಹೇಗೆ ಅಕ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತು ನಿಮ್ ಡಿಸಿಷನ್? ಡು ಯು ಲಿವ್ ಇನ್ ಅ ಜಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ?
Joint family andre when we my atte, my mother-in-law is with us, and me and my husband. But fortunately for me, the acceptance was there from all of my families, all my friends also, and extended family. They readily accepted, they readily welcomed the idea. In fact, they were keen. Namkinta jasti avrge idittu yavag sigate magu, yavag sigate, yavag adopt ಮಾಡ್ಕೋತೀರಾ ಅಂತ. So I was fortunate for having a family and friend circle and extended family who gave me so much support, more than what I expected actually. But there are many parents my prospective parents who do not get this kind of support. So ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗತ್ತೆ to convince everybody, especially if it is a joint family and the child is coming to a joint family. Because joint family ನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದ್ ಮಗು ಅಡಾಪ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬೇಕು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾರ್ದು acceptance ಸಿಗೋದು ಒಳ್ಳೇದು, because then we are thinking from the child's point of view, in the best interest of the child. So avaga, I think they need to work more on that aspect of convincing everybody, and I think I'm super lucky in that aspect, that I didn't have to go through that.
Yeah, the thing is, even if they do have their doubts and fears, you have to be ready to, as Indraji was saying, right? If there are doubts and fears around it by friends or family, then how do you perceive those fears and doubts? Because if you carry adoption and
Right.
walk adoption confidently, then everyone around you will do the same.
Right.
ಹ್ಮ್
I agree.
It starts with the parent or with the couple who are deciding it, and then taking it forward. And of course, as Indraji was saying, yes, there are many couples who come to us with joint family systems, and that they have their own preferences, and then that becomes a bit of a struggle for them, and then how are they going to have their resource in setting up their own? So these are things that we make them explore.
ಹ್ಮ್
How are you going to do it if you don't have the support? What is your support system?
ಹ್ಮ್ 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 ಹ್ಮ್
I think those questions have to be and then exploring it. And I think, to just add to everything, when you were talking about all of this, one thing that did strike me and I want to share is that there is, in adoption, there is no caste, color, creed, religion. That openness of heart and mind has to be in this journey.
Right.
That's true.
Absolutely. Brilliantly said. And as a founder of a foundation, Padme Foundation, and as a social worker has been, and having been in various corporate roles, Mrs. Gayatri Abraham, you have done a fantastic job in doing what you have done. I'm sure you don't require any credits from anyone, because you yourself are an epitome of patience, I can say. Just the interaction with you has been so calming and soothing for our listeners and me personally as well. Thank you so much for being on the show. And Indra ma'am, what can I say? As charming as you are, it's so wonderful to have you on this show today, and for enlightening parents and also telling them that the journey of adoptive parenthood is just like any other journey of parenthood, completely, and there's absolutely no difference. And the key takeaway I would say from this program is patience and perseverance. So be patient while you're a parent or an adoptive parent. Patience is the key to a good and happy family.
Thank you so much for
And-
giving us the opportunity.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am,
Thank
Indra,
you,
you.
Indraji. It was so heartwarming to hear your, your perspectives also.
Ma'am, Indra, ma'am, you had something to say.
yeah, just before ending this, ಯಾರು ಇವಾಗ ಕನ್ನಡನಲ್ಲಿ ಕನ್ನಡದ ಒಂದು ಹೊಸ ಮೂವಿ ಬಂದಿದೆ. I would suggest all prospective parents and parents who have adopted to watch it. It is called Ratnan Prapancha anta. It's on Amazon Prime. It's a beautiful movie on adoption, on root search, on parenting, and the feelings of an adoptive child. So I would suggest everybody has to watch this movie called Ratnan Prapancha. We recently saw it, and I appreciate, that such a movie with such a topic and they have dealt with it also in a very sensitive and a very sensible manner. It's a beautiful movie. I recommend that for everyone.
Thank you.
to watch it.
We'll definitely do it.
Yes. And thank you for the opportunity and giving me the stage to be on.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for being here. Sir, Giridhar sir, ನಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜರ್ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕ್ಲೋಸಿಂಗ್ ಟಾಕ್. ಸರ್, ನೀವು ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದೀರಿ. ಸರ್, ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದೀರಿ ನೀವು.
Program went very well. Ibru kuda both Gayatri madam as well as Indira madam has spoken very well. ಬಹಳ ಅರ್ಥಪೂರ್ಣವಾದಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಅದನ್ನು ನಡೆಸ್ಕೊಟ್ರಿ. So once again I thank you both and as well as Sujyoti madam.
Sujyoti,
Thank you
yes.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Giridhar.
Thank you so much.
Sujyoti. I think you did a beautiful job by threading us, and at least when I seem to be going out of context, bringing me back in. Thank you for that. It's very difficult to do it in this mode of Facebook Live, but thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.